Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got a brand new combination that you guys have never seen before, and I'm definitely really excited to start doing some testing with it because I've had a lot of requests for one of these particular shotguns, and to be honest with you, I wasn't necessarily planning on picking one up probably until this summertime, but when this deal came across the table in front of me, I had to pick one up because I knew I wasn't going to find another one for that kind of price. It was just a case of, yeah, you kind of got to get one when it gives you that kind of opportunity. And it should be a very nice performer for us as well. So I'm really excited to get some testing done with it. But for the shotgun we've got today, I managed to pick up one of these. This is a Savage 212. It's a 12 gauge, fully rifled barrel bolt action shotgun. So it's essentially a rifle that's set up to shoot Sabot slugs. It's got a fully rifled 22-inch barrel that is completely free floated in here as well. You can run a piece of paper all the way between the barrel and the stock, all the way up to where it meets the receiver. So in theory, this should be a very good shooter if we've got good slugs to put through it. And up on top, I have a Vortex Crossfire HD 3-9x40, and this one in particular has the illuminated 2A BDC reticle in it for those curious. So very nice setup here today. So we're going to start doing some testing with it, because if there's a shotgun that's going to perform very nicely in the accuracy department, probably one of these 212s. For the shells we're going to be running through it, I brought out some of these, the Winchester Copper Impact loads. They've gone by a few different names over the last couple years. I think the Deer Season Copper XP or something like that was another variant of this shell, but I think they've kind of narrowed it down to just calling them the Copper Impact slugs. But they are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 ounce Sabot slug at about 1600 feet per second. And you can kind of see what that load looks like here on the back. Nice copper bullet in a Sabot. It's got a red plastic tip in it. We have tested these a while back on the channel through my Remington 870 that has a rifled barrel, and I think they were kind of just mediocre more than anything else. But in one of these Savage 212s, when I was just getting that scope zeroed in, using a couple leftover of these that I happen to have in the ammo cabinet, it seemed like it was going to be a pretty decent performer. So I do have some decent hopes for it today, and hopefully it works out well. But as for our test, I don't have a ton of these slugs, so we're going to run it the same as we usually do. We're going to shoot 2 groups, one at 50 yards and another at 100 yards, all of them through the chrono as well. It's not a perfect test, but it's going to give us an idea on what this combo might be capable of. And going forward, if we start seeing some really nice accuracy from this shotgun, then we may adjust that range a little to like 75 and 100 or something of that nature. But to start off with, 50 and 100 is what we're running, and we'll see what it's capable of. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. The barrel will have about 10 minutes to cool down between each of our groups, so heat should not be an issue either. We've got good weather conditions with really no wind, so if it's going to work, we should see some very nice results. So let's start taking some shots and seeing what we can get. Alright, so let's run through our chronograph numbers real quick before we look at the target. Boss claim is 1600 feet per second. We have a 22-inch barrel on this shotgun, so I would have thought we would have seen pretty close to that boss claim. I have seen 24-inch rifled barrels, but they're rather uncommon in anything longer than that, so 22 inches should have done the job, but we were definitely seeing a little bit under boss claim for sure. But we had a high of 1492, a low of 1365. That gave us an average of 1441. With an extreme spread of 127 and a standard deviation of 41. So they're not overly consistent with velocity numbers either, and I don't think any of those were misreads, because sometimes the chronograph can get funny with trying to read sabots and stuff like that, but I think we probably got pretty accurate numbers here. But with an average of 1441, that's what, 159 feet per second 20% below their boss claim. I think that's probably a couple inches a barrel and maybe potentially being a little bit overzealous on their box claim. But here is your muzzle energy for a 1 ounce slug at 1441. That's still plenty good enough for your average deer hunt scenarios out to 100 yards or so. It's gonna do the job just fine, but I don't think it's quite as good as what it should be either, in my personal opinion. But let's swing around and look at our target, because I think we saw some pretty nice results over there. Alright, so here's our targets, and we definitely see some pretty nice looking results here for a slug gun, that's for sure. We'll start over here on the left with our 50-yard group, and on this one, I felt great about these two trigger pulls that just about touched each other. The third trigger pull here, I felt okay about that one, but it wasn't quite as crisp on my part as the other two were, which is probably why I strung that one out just a little bit compared to the other two. I'm willing to bet our 50-yard group probably could have been a touch better than that, and if we would have taken another shot or two, I bet we would have stacked them right there, kind of pretty much on top of each other. But it is still a 1.17 inch group if we measure the farthest two across, which is that top left one all the way to this top right one. But the two better shots are stacked right in there at 0.699. So still very nice grouping at 50 yards, plenty capable enough, and I probably could have shot a little bit better on my part as well. So we're off to a good start here for sure, and that trend kind of continues over here towards 100 yards as well. As you can see, I did a quick zero with it just at 50 yards the other day off camera, and we're hitting pretty close. I can give the scope a couple clicks up if we need to, since these are only 1600 feet per second and you can get plenty of Sabot slugs that are faster. I may or may not click the scope up a few clicks, but that's fine. Either way, these three shots are still very nice. I did feel good about all three of these trigger pulls here. We had two of them that were almost touching and one a little bit to the left. It's kind of pretty similar to what we saw over there at 50 as well. Even though I felt perfect about all three of those shots, maybe a little bit of human error came into play. It's always a possibility anyway. That 212 does have an trigger in it, and it is set up very nicely as well. So I can tell you, if I don't do 100% perfect on that trigger pull, it's gonna show up in the results, even if I may not feel the imperfections anyway, because it is set up very nicely. But even still, we're right at 2.04 inches from our farthest 2 points across. So 2-inch groups or better, I think, are very easily possible from this particular combination. And this is the first actual group testing I've done with it. When I was zeroing it, I didn't really go through and take a bunch of shots and be super precise with it to try and get the best groups I could. I just wanted to get the scope close to where it should be, and they look nice in that performance. And clearly, now that we're actually testing them, if we can get sub 2-inch groups, which I think is really possible, just right off the rip here, the first test we've done with it, I have no doubt that we can get better than that out of it. I've seen plenty of Sabot slugs shoot 2 inches or better out of my Remington 870, and that is a much less precise setup than that 212 is, I can tell you that. So we're off to a really solid start here, just the way it is. Plenty capable for whatever you'd want to use this combo for, out to 100 yards. And with that kind of groups, you could probably stretch it out a little farther, 125, 130, something like that. Probably wouldn't be out of the question, at least for a deer hunt situation over a field or something like that. So off to a good start for sure, and I really have some high hopes for it going forward as we start testing some more slugs through it, because I think we can get even better than that from it. And here are a couple of the Sabots that came out of those shells. A little bit of inconsistencies, as you can see. We had two of them that lost a pedal and opened up a little bit, and this one completely opened up and flattened out. But it really didn't seem like those inconsistencies made a huge difference in our accuracy anyway. Maybe a slight little bit is always possible for sure, but it didn't absolutely ruin our accuracy. We had good rifle engagement on the outside of them here. You can see those nice rifling grooves down the side. But overall, everything looks good, even though we did lose a couple pedals off some of them. Clearly, they did a good enough job to hold good groups out to 100 yards. So nothing I'm too worried about here when they're showing that kind of accuracy. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about those results right there? For the first test we've done with that 212, I'm plenty happy with that. Me personally, if we can get 3-inch or better groups at 100 yards from a slug gun, that's more than good enough for me to be confident in it on a deer hunt scenario. For the areas that I hunt in, it's rare to get a 100-yard shot unless you're over some big bean field. And if you're hunting that area, a rifle's probably going to be a better idea in the first place, because you may have to take 100 125, 150 plus yard shots. But when it comes to your average mixed ag land or big woods or swampy thickets or anything like that, it's typically 60 yards and in, and that is more than capable of doing the job for sure. Even out to 100 yards, you could probably push that a little farther than 100 as well if you wanted to. But for the first test, I'm liking what I'm seeing here, and we probably could have got a little bit better, definitely at 50, if I had 3 absolutely perfect trigger pulls. So we clearly have some potential here for sure. I have no doubt we can find more slugs that perform that well or better. So right off the bat, I think we've got a pretty good shooting shotgun on our hands here. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is this about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Do you have a 212 or a 220? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from it? And what kind of slugs typically perform well through them? And what other slugs do you want to see me run through this 212 that you think might be a good performer? I've got a bunch more slugs that we're going to run through it, so we're going to figure out what it likes, but leave all your comments down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.